the problems that have been brought to us as coaches this year are really serious and deeply concerning.
So I'm here today with Pam, the founder and CEO of Tilt365, and this is a very interesting topic today. It's about the mess, and it's about anxiety and ego fear. And so what do you mean with that, Pam? Tell us more.
The mess. Yeah, it's a lot of people are calling it kind of the new world problem, the new world challenge that we're in right now, the weirdest year ever, 2020. Um, and honestly, it is um, something that all year I've been like watching what's happening and so very aware of what's going on. And it's really just us feeling the common ego fears that we all feel, um, and them escalating so much. And it's because we have so much leadership that is lacking in character strengths and all over the world. Not just in one part of the world. It just seems to be a part of a collective ego consciousness that is somehow like rebelling and wanting attention and wanting us to pay attention to it. So it's sort of archetypal in a way. Um, so yeah, the year that anxiety runs crazy. So that's it, and it's really an existential thing, isn't it? It's like um, all of our fears that, where's the hope?
Mhm.
Um, will we have a better future? We're seeing kids, really struggling a lot this year uh,
Mhm.
because parents are, their roots have been shaken. So it's, the problems that have been brought to us as coaches this year are really serious and deeply concerning.
Right, right, exactly. And so it sounds like, the ego fear, is really there, and because the ego, is not so strong. So what can be done, to improve that or to develop that?
Yeah, so in some cases, the ego fears that we have started so young, and sometimes when we've experienced harm at a certain stage of our development, it kind of sticks with us, and it's going to come back out whenever the external environment stimulates it. So, some of us have stronger countenance and stronger internal control than others. And I happen to be one of those people that really feels what's going on in the environment. So I call myself kind of permeable, so like I can't, I can't keep it out sometimes. Um, and so because I didn't really have a strong stable environment, in the first 20 years of my life, there was a lot of disruption and confusion and things like that. um, so for me, this kind of year has troubled me in many ways, and I've had to sit and think about it, like what can I do, what can I control, how can I be at my best even in this kind of situation. And then, of course, coaching has gone crazy this year. All of us have been busy supporting everyone, whether they're paying us or not, and just showing up for them and serving them. So that's where we are. But I would have to say that I am not surprised either. And I think the reason I'm not surprised that it's escalated this much is because in business and in leadership development and even in psychology, we've pretty much ignored the education of character development, and we expect and put all of the responsibility of that on parents and teachers. And it's a job that or it's a responsibility that lasts a lifetime. We
Mhm.
need to keep investing in it and keep learning about it our entire lives. We can't just learn a little bit about integrity in seventh grade and think that it's going to carry us through life, especially when the world is very unfriendly. The environment presents a lot of challenges to us. And then, of course, because we're global and
Mm,
because technology has advanced transportation, and now we're all experiencing systems, human systems,
mm.
that are very different from the one we grew up in, it causes a lot of anxiety to move from one system to the other and think that we're going to understand how to operate positively in it.
Right, right, exactly. And so what is the relationship between ego fear and identity or character strength and identity?
Mhm. Yeah, so I've done a lot of study in personality, pretty much studied every personality theory you can imagine. Um, and really, personality, if you think about the definition of it, it is the extension of ego.
Mm,
It's our strategy for how we operate in the world and how we survive. But it is driven a lot by a more primitive part of ourselves, like the reptilian part is what activates first, and it's 70,000 times faster than our conscious choice. So personality is innate and we're born with it and it's instinctual. And there are, patterns and traits and ways of being that are passed on to us, from our genetics for years. And yet it's also shaped and nurtured in that first 20 years too. So, experiencing ego fear, all of us experience it. All of us, feel the need for, the same human needs. Um, and ego, unfortunately, is usually connected with an insatiable need. Uh,
mm.
if there was harm done in some of those psychosocial development stages.
All right. Okay. This makes a lot of sense. And so I'm curious, can you tell us a bit more, how does fear manifest different in different people, or is it always the same, or how is it different?
So all of us experienced what psychologists call, an injury to our identity at different stages. And so depending on what stage that happened in and which one was the most experienced by us in the most meaningful way, um, we're left with that. And then we've got to sort it out and figure it out for the rest of our lives. And so that's why we all have these repeating patterns that come up, like I can never get enough approval, or, so I'm always trying to make people happy and take care of them and help them so that I can feel good about me. Or I can never get enough power or, autonomy over my, control things. Or I can never get enough status to feel like I'm enough. Or another is I can never get enough attention to feel special. So all of these needs, we all have them all. But in the various stages, our parents, probably did the very best that they could, but they didn't, one message, was something we remember, like, I'm too much to handle. So I need to just, my parents want me to go away, be quiet, take care of myself. Or, um, I'm not safe by myself. So, my parents don't seem to let me have autonomy. So I better, they must be right.
Mhm.
So we get these wrong messages that we are formed when we're thinking like a child. And so
Mhm.
as an adult, we've got to kind of revisit those and think like an adult and deal with them in a different way.
Right. And I'm sure people can relate to all the things you just said, all these examples.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious, tell us a bit more. So if we don't evolve in this adult stage and handle them more as an adult, grown adult, what happens?
Yeah, so a lot of people ask me that, like when there is a one stage in our development that doesn't go so well, and we kind of have a wrong message that happens, the next stage is sort of compromised too. So all of our stages of development are sort of impeded by that one that we focus on, hypersensitive. We're hypersensitive to it, and so it drives a lot and immerses with our personality and kind of becomes the thing that we think we have to do in order to survive an unfriendly environment. So, if we feel like people indicated to us that we're flawed in some way, or we're not very social, or, socially acceptable, then we will kind of own that in our identity. And then we look for in the environment for people who think that. So, we create this self fulfilling prophecy because we're looking to validate the theory that, our personality came up with this childish, mind of ours. So to do our work, we have to kind of take that apart and look at it with more reason and look at it with more adult, practicality. And then, kind of unwire those things so that we can then, wire up a stronger internal strength system.
Yeah, it's really, creating that self-awareness to really not being so in your habits, unconscious habits, but really more mindful about it, what you're saying.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yes, the
great.
whole mindfulness movement, is all about like tuning in to that and, being aware of what's really happening in there. Lots of good things have happened um, to help us with these things, and there are lots of ways to characterize it. But in a way, I kind of think it's many things all together. It's mindfulness, but it's also deepening our empathy and our compassion for other human beings. It's knowing when it's important to be courageous and put our voice forward, so that justice happens. Um, for ourselves and others. And it's also about like finding our individual voice and knowing our purpose and aligning with that purpose, and then devoting our life to the work that we're uniquely designed to do, and making sure we find that right fit for that.
Right, exactly. So this sounds like a perfect, ending to say, what can be done for the mess, right, that we are in today. So any final words that you want to share with us?
Yeah, I guess I would say that the most important thing is that internal strength. That if we operate from internal strength, then no matter what's going on in the world, we'll tend to make better decisions. And we'll make decisions about what we can actually control, and we'll let go of the things that we don't. When we orient ourselves from fear, we are focused on the outer world and striving too much and trying to get from others that fill that insatiable hole of, enough, or, enough money, enough power, enough status, enough love, enough approval, enough attention. And it's an insatiable hole. So as long as we look externally, we're going to feel unsatisfied and unhappy. If we look inside ourselves and take responsibility, then we can actually create happiness for ourselves and even fulfillment beyond that.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much, Pam. Another great insight that we got today. A lot of good insights. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Erica.